Alright everyone, so if you missed it Monday night, I ran a live stream where it was kind of like community input for a deck tech. I randomly selected a commander of the newer commander options available, and then I decided to go with that one commander and then use suggestions from my chat in the live stream and kind of go from there. So what I have here for you today is a deck tech for Hofri Ghost Forge. This is a red and white spirit deck, really just focusing on that spirit tribal. We have some spirit commander options that make good spirit tribal commanders, but it's rarely ever been just about the spirits. So Hofri Ghost Forge, not a spirit himself, but a dwarf cleric. 4/5 and 5 mana, red and white. Spirits you control get +1/+1 and have trample and haste, which is insane because there are a lot of good spirits. You do want to speed them up though, and giving them like a little anthem boost, always beneficial. But this commander gets even better. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you exile it. If you do, you create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types, and it has, when this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to your graveyard. So this is fantastic for Boros colors if we're talking about resilience. You need some kind of board presence, you need to keep your creatures out there, even if they're just token copies. I think this is fantastic. Those spirits will also have +1/+1 in haste, so you can attack with them. They also have trample. So let's start it off here with the deck. In Boros, probably the key weakness is card draw. We don't have a ton of card draw in here, so still going to be a work in progress. I can always come back to this deck and update it later, but we have obvious ones here like Skull Clamp earlier on. If we don't have our Hofri out there and we have spirits and they're not 2/2s because of his anthem, we can then equip a Skull Clamp to one of them and then just draw 2 cards. Idol of Oblivion, fantastic card for any kind of Boros deck if you're able to create tokens consistently. And then we have Bygone Bishop, really slow card draw, but card draw is card draw. We have some graveyard cards in here, not a huge part of the deck, but we need some synergies with our graveyard. We have Anger. Since a lot of our deck is going to be taking advantage of the haste that we get off of Hofri, I think it's a good idea to have Anger because then you have another way of also taking advantage of those good creatures without having your Hofri out there. So Anger, if you're able to get cards into your graveyard easily, this is one of the cards you're going to want to search up. And then we have Karmic Guide, a spirit being probably the big reason why it's in here, in addition to the fact that it's just a great card. Getting a creature back from our graveyard to the battlefield. We have Revelark, which is also going to combo in here. There's a combo and a loose win con that we're able to combo off and win with pretty easily. And then we have Return Past Caller. This is another spirit. When it enters the battlefield, we return target spirit, instant, or sorcery card from our graveyard to our hand, which is very uncommon in Boros, being able to return instants and sorceries to your hand. So I think it's a great card. Sun Titan, of course, a lot of tiny cards in here, a lot of smaller permanents in general. And then we have our lands in here. We have pretty much mana fixing. We have the newer card here, Fury Calm Snarl. We have Needle Verge Pathway, that's another newer land. We also have Spectator Seeding, another new land. But other than that, I think utility, we have Sunhome, Fortress of the Legion, so we can give a target creature double strike until end of turn. And then we have some mana cards in here. We have plenty of mana sources. We have Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bauble, Arcane Signet, Boros Signet, Dockside Extortionist. We can always take it out if we want to lower the budget. We have Felwar Stone, we have Mind Stone, Talisman of Conviction, and we have good old Smothering Tithe. So we have a ton of ways of getting mana, get a lot of those treasure tokens out there. And then we have Protection. We have some good protection cards in here. Boros is pretty vulnerable to board wipes, and it's harder to recover in Boros, I find. So we need something like a God's Willing. We need a Boros Charm. Boros Charm is great to protect from board wipes. All of your permanents can gain indestructible until end of turn. We have Lightning Greaves. We have Selfless Spirit. Can make all of our creatures indestructible. Also fantastic to bring back with something like a Sun Titan. And then we have Gift of Immortality. When the creature dies, return the card back to the battlefield, and then at the beginning of the next end step, you return Gift of Immortality attached to that creature. And then we have Sun Forger, pretty much a staple in Boros, because you can then just activate that ability, and then use a Boros Charm to protect your board if you need it, or a God's Willing. And we have a ton of removal if there's a huge advantage to this specific build that I have here. We have a lot of good removal. We have spirits that are all about removing. We have Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares. Those are staples in white anyway. But we have Remorseful Cleric. We can sacrifice it to exile all cards from target player's graveyard. That right there is insane. That's Bajuka Bog, that's Tormod's Crypt on a creature activated ability, that when it dies, we get a copy of it and we can do it all over again. We have Hanged Executioner. When it enters the battlefield, we create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying, and we can pay 4 mana to exile it, and then exile target creature, but we don't have to do that and get rid of our only Hanged Executioner. We can kill it off, get a copy of it, and then use that copy's activated ability to then exile something else. And then with Nico Onna, there are these cool Saviors of Kamigawa spirits that when they come into play, you get to destroy something. This one lets you destroy enchantments, and whenever you play a spirit or an arcane spell, you may return Nico Onna to its owner's hand, so it's reusable. We have Skyclave Apparition. Enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with converted mana cost 4 or less. When it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner creates an XX blue illusion creature token where X is the converted mana cost of the exiled card. So this is great because they don't ever get that card back unless they have a way of returning something from exile. They just get a token to replace it. And then we have Wear and Tear, just great removal in Boros. You can destroy an artifact for one side, or you get to destroy an enchantment, or you can do both. We have Return to Dust, a staple in white. We have Yuki Onna, kind of the same thing as Nico Onna, but this time it's for destroying artifacts. And then we have Austere Command, awesome staple in white. We can destroy several different permanents. We have Hour of Reckoning, Convoke, and we destroy all non-token permanents, so it's a stellar board wipe in a token deck. And then we have Blasphemous Act, because who doesn't like paying 1 red to deal 13 damage to everything? And we have a few sack outlets in here because we want ways of, sacrificing our creatures and easily getting those tokens. We have Goblin Bombardment, dealing 1 damage to a target creature or player. We have Ashnod's Altar and Phyrexian Altar to get us some mana. And we have some spirits in here. We have way more than just 11, but this is kind of the, in general, spirits. They didn't really fit into any other category for me. Kami of False Hope, you can sacrifice it to prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Awesome and annoying card that you can constantly bring back with something like a Sun Titan. We have Skyfire Kirin. Whenever you play a spirit or arcane spell, you gain control of target creature with that spell's converted mana cost until end of turn. So this is just crazy powerful. You have Windborn Muse, just a great card, basically a ghostly prison on a spirit. And then we have Balefire Liege. Really what made me want to build spirits here are these next 2 cards here, Balefire Liege and Malignus. But this one, other red creatures you control get +1/+1, same thing with white creatures. Whenever you play a red spell, it deals 3 damage to a target player, and whenever you play a white spell, you gain 3 life. Just any of these lieges that just synergize well with commander decks. It's a huge flavor win, I love them. Then we have Malignus. Its power and toughness are each equal to half the highest life total among your opponents rounded up. So damage that would be dealt by Malignus can't be prevented. Cool thing about our commander is that it gives +1/+1 trample and haste to all of our spirits. And Malignus is a spirit, so any drawback that was previously here with Malignus not having any keywords, those are gone with our commander. You get a trample, haste, Malignus out there, you can easily deal some serious damage to your opponents. We have Noblesse of War. Attacking creatures you control get +2 power. Great for combat spirits. And we have Quintorius, Field Historian, another newer card. Spirits you control get +1 power, and whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. We have Ryusei the Falling Star, cool dragon spirit. When it dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying. And then we have, similarly, Yosei the Morning Star. When it dies, target player skips their next untap step, and then you tap up to 5 target permanents they control. We have Drogskull Cavalry. Whenever another spirit enters the battlefield under our control, we gain 2 life, and we can pay 4 mana at any time to put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. And then we have Miyajin of Infinite Rage. This is probably the most insane card in the whole deck. A whopping 10 mana. You pay all 10 of that mana. It's a lot, but it's well worth it, because once you remove the divinity counter, you destroy all lands. And this is kind of a win con I'm going to talk about here in a second, but that's useful in so many combat decks if you can keep your board presence. We have Doomed Traveler. Now we're talking about tokens here. This card's cool because it dies, it gets you a spirit token. When it dies with Hofri, you get a spirit token copy of it. So you're just going to keep getting more spirits. It's a nice little 1 mana creature. Nothing super special though. We have Clarion Spirit. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So really easy to take advantage of that, even if you only really get 1 a turn. We have Intangible Virtue, great creature token support, +1/+1 in Vigilance. We have Hallowed Spirit Keeper. This is probably going to be an MVP of this strategy. When it dies, we create X 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield, where X is the number of creature cards in our graveyard. And then we get a copy of it if it dies with Hofri out there, and then you kill it off again and you get a ton of those spirits. And then we have Anointed Procession to pretty much just double the number of tokens that we get for each card here. And then we have Phantom General. Creature tokens we control get +1/+1, it's also a spirit too. And then we have Seance. This is a fun card that I don't think sees much commander play. At the beginning of each upkeep, we may exile target creature card from our graveyard. If we do, we put a token onto the battlefield that's a token copy of it, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. But we have to exile it at the beginning of the next end step, so get more spirit token tribal there. Then we have Geist Honored Monk, enters the battlefield and gives us 2 1/1 white spirits. Requiem Angel, another good staple. Whenever another non-spirit creature token dies, we get a 1/1 flying spirit. And then we have 2 awesome cards in here. We have 2 tutors. We have Gamble and Fervent Mastery. Fervent Mastery is a newer card, kind of like Gamble, but instead of just searching for 1 card and then discarding 1 at random, we search for 3 and then discard 3 at random. So it's even more chaotic. I love it. I think it's perfect for this deck because we sometimes want things in our graveyard like anger. And then we have our win cons here. This is really important, but this isn't really something that you aim for. You don't have to win by using a combo, any kind of infinite, but we have them in here nevertheless. We have Goblin Bombardment, and then we have Vicious Shadows. These are really going to help us win. We could also play something like a Perforos, but I don't know. I like keeping these in here. Really just helps to make the deck more consistent. I don't like playing too many non-spirit creatures, so the Mirror Entity loop is pretty simple. If you don't have a Goblin Bombardment, you can still do it with Vicious Shadows. You get pretty much infinite death triggers with Mirror Entity, Karmic Guide, and Revulark, because Revulark's just going to keep bringing back your Mirror Entity and your Karmic Guide, and your Karmic Guide's going to bring back your Revulark. And then you get infinite triggers there with Vicious Shadows, and of course you can use that for Goblin Bombardment as well. And Miajin of Infinite Rage is kind of just, you destroy all lands when you have the board presence in your favor. So if you have a ton of creatures out there, if they're menacing, let's say you have a Malignus out there, and it's pretty big, yeah, you can afford to destroy all lands. You also have a Miajin of Infinite Rage. Those are pretty good, and even if they die with Hofri out there, you get token copies of them, so you're likely going to keep your board presence. So anyway guys, let me know what you think about Hofri Ghostforge. Again, this was more of a community input deck tech. Really just built this deck off of several recommendations in my live stream chat. And if I do one again, it'll probably be on a Monday night, so stay tuned. Let me know if you like what I'm doing here with the live streams, and I might try to offer more of them. Void here signing off. Have a wonderful day.